that children have imaginary friends. A follower named Irene sent me this story, and we're going to call it
taking olive oil, like holy oil, and marking it all across the room with crosses everywhere, and to do what we can. And we're doing our own version of
story time on how I found out that my imaginary friend at 5 years old was real.
Please, I don't have any time for any gossip now. Huh? Yes.
Look at you.
Do something with it.
It's just money coming to me easily. Money coming in and needing me. Money coming in repeatedly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me frequently. Money coming in to be with me. Money coming in secretly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me always. Money coming in all day. Money coming in all pay. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me frequently. Money coming in to be with me. Money coming in secretly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me easily. Money coming in and needing me. Money coming in repeatedly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just.
Isn't it crazy that children have imaginary friends? A follower named Irene sent me this story, and we're going to call it Imaginary Friend. Irene says that they lived in this house for about 13 years, and out of nowhere, her 2-year-old granddaughter started talking to an imaginary friend. Didn't think much of it because most children have imaginary friends, so they kind of just brushed it off. Her granddaughter started talking more and more to this imaginary friend, and she said her name was Jada. And she would say things like, Jada said hi, Jada wants cookies, just pretty innocent stuff. And out of nowhere, her granddaughter started to change. She started doing very malicious things like hitting her baby brother, not listening to her parents, and one day she even threw a dish towel on top of their stove that was on. Of course, her parents got mad at her. They were like, what is going on, Sky? Why are you acting like this? And she's like, I'm sorry, Jada told me to do that. Irene is like, Sky, there is no Jada. What are you talking about? And Sky was adamant. She's like, Grandma, she's literally right there, and she points at a chair. So Irene is like, okay, what is she telling me right now? And Sky says that Jada was crying, saying, why can't anyone see me? Some time passes, and Irene's husband goes into the bedroom and tells Irene, hey, you need to go talk to Sky. She's freaking me out. She's in her room talking to nobody. She's in there talking, she's laughing, and there's no one in there. So Irene was in there, and she's like, hey, Mama, who are you talking to? And she said, Jada. Grandma, again, is like, okay, I've had enough, Sky. There is no Jada. And Sky is adamant again. She's like, are you kidding? Like, she's literally right there. Look, she's right there. Look, she walked out, she left. So Irene got curious, and she's like, okay, what does Jada look like? And Sky says it looked like she fell. Irene said, what do you mean it looks like she fell? She says, yeah, she has red stuff all over her face. It looks like she fell. No. Irene says that her husband would always tell her that he saw something, that he heard weird noises. Other family members would always say that they heard or saw something, but Irene never saw anything herself. She did ask a neighbor and asked, hey, do you know if anything happened here? The neighbor said that he didn't know, but what he did know is that whoever would move into that house, they never lasted, and that Irene and her family were the only ones that had lasted this long. Tell me why this reminded me of the little girl from the movie The Amityville Horror. Hell nah. Thank you so much to Irene for sending me this spooky story. If you guys have any other stories you'd like me to read, please send them via DM or email, and I'd love to read them. If you guys like anything scary, anything horror, anything paranormal, make sure you follow, and I will see you guys in the next spooky story. Bye! It sounded just like my mom. Story time. The person who submitted this says that I can use her name, but I cannot tag her. So Leah was spending the weekend at her grandmother's house. Her grandmother lives in New Mexico, in a very rural part of New Mexico that is surrounded by very heavy wooded like forests. Like the whole back of the house is just like thick trees. The day that Leah got to her grandmother's house, she spent most of the day playing outside with some of the neighborhood kids. Once it started to get dark out, she went back to the house, had dinner with her grandmother, and they got settled in her room. At about 11 p.m., she's laying on her bed, just scrolling on TikTok, when she hears something that literally sends chills down her spine. Clear as day, she hears her mom's voice calling her from outside. Every alarm bell started going off in Leah's head because she knew that her mom was hours away, that there was no way that it was her mom outside of the room. So she decided to just kind of quietly get out of bed and peek through the blinds and look out into the backyard, but she sees no one standing there. Then she hears it again. She hears, Lele, come here, baby. Now, mind you, her mom is the only person that calls Leah Lele. So this thing was literally using the nickname that her mom had given her. I'm
getting chills. Leah then decided to text her grandmother and asked if maybe her mom had come back early, and her grandmother quickly responded with, no, why? Just then Leah hears a voice once again coming from the woods. This time it says, come on, sweetheart, hurry. Everything then goes completely silent, and it was almost like the crickets stopped cricking, like the wind stopped howling, like everything was just dead silent. Leah looks over at the window once again and sees a handprint, like an invisible handprint on the other side of the window. This sends her screaming straight into her Nana's room, where she runs in and slams the door. Her Nana tries everything that she can to try to calm her down, but this is how they're going to deal with this in the morning. The next morning, they go outside and they check around like the window where Leah's room was, and they find barefoot prints on the mud facing towards like Leah's bedroom window. They also see the handprint, and they see like these jagged edge scratches on the tree that was right outside of Leah's bedroom window. Leah's grandmother never wanted to use the word, like the actual word. She never wanted to say it out loud because saying it out loud literally gives them power. But never again was Leah allowed to sleep in that room with the window open because she had the window open. And two, they ended up sprinkling some sort of like powder near the window that is supposed to make these things not want to come near you. If you don't like scary stories or paranormal or ghosts or any of that, go ahead and scroll. Now, I hope that this video does land on the right side of TikTok under the witch talk, paranormal, or any of that. So recently my son, he started, I guess, hearing things or hearing actually someone call his name, and in particular me. Right, so he would come and he'd be like, yeah, Mom. I'd be like, well, I didn't call you. And then later on, did you call me? No. So it had been going on for quite some time, right? To the point where I was getting annoyed. I'd be like, dude, I'm not calling you. And when I do, like, you don't come. So anyway, I mentioned it to my sister. I was like, hey, you know what? Like, I noticed that he's always asking me, like, did you call me or whatever. So then over the weekend, he does it again. And my sister happened to be here, so I was like, did you hear him? I was like, he's asking me again if I called him. And she's like, well, you did. And I'm like, no, I didn't call him. She's like, I heard you myself. And I was like, dude, I didn't call him. And then she's like, what the heck? That's so weird. She's like, I heard you say like, hey, Miguel, you know? And I was like, okay. So I brushed it off. So then yesterday, I saw him go in the restroom and I heard him flush the toilet. And I heard footsteps, like he ran out, right? And I yelled at him and I was like, hey, like, what the heck? You know, because he didn't wash his hands. So then when I actually turned, he's still in the restroom washing his hands. So once again, I brushed it off. Then later, I'm laying in bed. I have my pillows stacked up on my desk. And I see him run in the room and hide behind the pillows. He likes to scare me. He's in that age where he thinks scary people is funny. So I look up and I look over the pillows because I'm thinking that he's hiding, and there's no one there. So whatever this is, it's in my house. It's a kid. It's a shadow kid, or what, I don't know what they're called, and I don't know how to get rid of it. Or, you know, I spoke to my sister about it, and my cousins are saying, like, go ahead and tell, since it's a kid, be like, hey, let's all go so that it follows, and then when I come back, just call my child. But I don't know if that'll work. But if you guys have any tips on how to get rid of it, or why shit is always happening to me, let me know. Oh, and I forgot to add, when my sister heard me call my son, which it wasn't me, she said it is a girl, that she does sound like me, but it's not me. And what I'm seeing, it's a kid. So I'm not sure if this is a fucking family, but get the fuck out. Like, this is not Beetlejuice. Don't build a family here.
Story time on how I found out that my imaginary friend at 5 years old was real. Okay, so I don't know about y'all, but I had an imaginary friend when I was 5 years old. So this was like 3 years ago, I want to say, something like that. It was Paranormal Day, and I was having a team meeting with my team, and my team lead was like, let's share some stories. Does anybody have stories to share? So everybody was sharing their story, and then it got to me, and they're like, Jasmine, you know, do you have any stories to tell? And I'm like, as a matter of fact, I do. I told them I had an imaginary friend when I was 5. And it was so real to me that my brother, my mom, my dad, my aunts, my family, they would catch me talking to my friend in my room or in car rides or whatever the case was. This is where it gets freaky, and pay attention, stay till the end, because your mind will be blown, I swear. First of all, there is a cemetery down the street from my childhood home. And my aunt didn't work too far from us, and not too far from the cemetery. We'd have to pass the cemetery to get to her work, and we would go pick her up. Well, whenever we would leave the house, sometimes my friend wasn't with me. So I would tell my mom, like, Mom, like, my friend, I'm not gonna say her real name, I'm gonna say her name is Lisa. I would tell her, Mom, Lisa's not in the truck, like, we have to go back and get her. And my mom at first was like, Jasmine, like, no, like stop playing. I'm like, no, Mom, for real. So I would get really mad and really sad. I would have to, like, I would make my mom turn around to go pick up my friend. So my mom would turn around to go back to the house, and when we would be getting to my house, I would say, oh no, never mind, Lisa's already here. And my mom was like, what the heck, dude? Like, okay, whatever. Shout out to my mom for listening to me to make me happy. So like I said, we would pass the cemetery, and one day my mom says that I told her, Mom, look, that's where my friend lives. That's where she told me she lives. And my mom's like, oh, really? And then I'm like, yeah. And I'm pointing at the cemetery. Mind you, I'm 5 years old. What 5-year-old knows what a cemetery is, right? So we go pick up my aunt, and my mom, she's like stunned, right? She's like, what the hell? You know, she's been talking to this imaginary friend for some time now, and now she's telling me that her friend lives in a cemetery. Okay, if my daughter were to tell me that right now, my 5-year-old daughter were to tell me, I would be freaked out, right? So my mom was freaked out. We go pick up my aunt. This imaginary friend was so serious for me. At the time, my whole neighborhood would kind of play together. All the kids would play together. All the kids would come to my house and play with me because I had a little playground. Even the kids that were a little bit older than me, they would come and push me on the swings. We'd play tag, all of that, right? And after a while, they started getting freaked out because I would say, oh, don't forget to push my friend Lisa, or oh, don't forget to go tag my friend Lisa. And they were just like, Jasmine, like, I'll be back. I gotta go home real quick. So it was just a big deal. Okay, fast forward, right? So I'm telling my coworkers all this, right? And they're like, oh my God. We get off the call, and one of my coworkers messages me on Teams, and she says, hey, I'm curious. Did you ever go and look in the cemetery, what do you call it? The word just like left my mind. The cemetery directory or something like that, to see if there was in fact a little kid there by the name of your imaginary friend, to see if they're actually there. And I was like, you know what? Like, I never thought of that. Stay with me, stay with me. This is where it all comes together, and where I was just blown away. Stay with me. I did that. I went to the directory of that cemetery, and I type in my imaginary friend's name. Long and behold, a little girl pops up with my imaginary friend's name. Okay, now this is how I linked it and confirmed it. Okay, so my grandma passed away in December of 2000. My friend Lisa, date of death is 3 months prior to my grandma passing away, right? Okay, stay with me. I dug a little deeper because I was like, okay, she's there, but where is she, right? Where my grandma's plot is, my friend, my imaginary friend, her plot is like 3 blocks down from my grandma, which is not far at all. And that just stunned the heck out of me, because she had just been buried. She had just been buried when we went to my grandma's burial. So I'm like, oh my God, I must have stepped over her stone. I must have walked past it. I don't know where she attached herself to me. So I did more research, like I said, because I really dug into this. I was like invested. Just the fact that she exists She was like 6 or 7 years old when she passed away. I dug in deeper. I put in my city, I put in the name, I put in where she, when she passed away, just to see if I could find a story about her, right? And I did. And it's a very sad story, and it's very unfortunate, and I felt really bad. I also did research about, you know, young children's spirit. And what I read, when children pass on, some of them are confused. They don't know what's going on, right? They don't know what just happened to them. So their souls sometimes stay grounded, you know, they stay where, you know, in certain places or whatever. If you want more information on that, you can go and research it. But I was just so like, oh my God, like I had to tell somebody. So I called my husband. I told my husband, I was like, oh my God, dude, check this out. After I talked to my husband, I called my dad, because my dad is one of the persons that is very well aware of my imaginary friend. Okay, I'm running out of time. Go to part 2 to hear the rest of the story.
So I want to tell you a scary story from when I was in high school. And at that time, this is important, I was depressed. I was going through a lot, and my parents were arguing. Like, the home was not a happy home. And that's very important, because I think that is what contributed to what I went through and why it happened. So this is what happened. So one night I was actually going to sleep, you know, as I normally do. And you know how you have a TV that's hanging on a wall? So that TV had a red light, and that's important because that's actually what I kind of seen when I was on the other side. So I went to sleep as I normally do, and all of a sudden this particular night I was asleep, and for some reason I kind of got awoken because I felt my body lift off the bed and hit the floor. Like, that is what woke me up. And then I slowly, because I could tell the sheets, they were moving across my foot because I had the cover on me. And all of a sudden I can feel like my body getting put right back on the bed as where it was. So when that happened, I'm kind of like aware what's going on. So then I'm like waking up, and yes, I'm in sleep paralysis. So I'm sitting here like, what is going on? So I kind of like woke up, and for some reason when I opened like my eyes, basically my room was, it's like a blue, like instead everything was blue, and I was looking at that dot where my TV screen was, and I think it was like either it wasn't that red anymore. It wasn't that same thing. It was like I was in a different, I was still in my room, but it was like everything was different. You know what I'm saying? Like everything is kind of like bluish, basically. So I look and, like, you know, open my eyes, and I look to my left. It's a dark figure, and it's standing there, and it doesn't have a face. Like, it's like a shadow, and it's looking at me, and it's standing over my bed. And I'm sitting here looking at it, and it's looking back at me. And tell me why this thing lunges, and it vapors itself, and it comes towards my heart. This is where it's going to. So, baby, that was not happening. So what I did was, it was like I started doing this, and for some reason I came out of my body. At first, you know, I'm in sleep paralysis. I can't do anything. So I come out of my body, and I'm fighting it. Now I'm literally like, we're tussling, like I'm getting my licks in, and all of a sudden after that, and plus two, I'm saying the Lord's Prayer at the same time. I'm calling on Jesus' name. I'm calling on God. Like, I'm like, come help me, get this thing up off me. You are not taking me, because I'm not letting this happen at all. So I'm fighting it, and then finally it stops and it goes away. So after fighting it, I just want to let you know, I came up out of my body. Like, I actually seen myself like above my body, but I wasn't really paying attention like that because I was just so focused on getting this thing up out me. So once I finally did come up out of it, that's when I got up and I bolted out that room. Like, I literally did not want to go to sleep. I told my parents, but of course my parents are not going to listen. They just think I'm like dramatic or whatever like that, but I was like adamant. I said, I'm not going to sleep. I told my best friend at the time, I was like, girl, this is what happened to me. So we're like, we don't know what we're doing. So we literally start reciting Bible scriptures and taking olive oil, like holy oil, and marking it all across the room with crosses everywhere, and to do what we can. And we're doing our own version of cleansing my room. Like, you know, again, we're in high school. And I just want to say this as well. Like, I normally don't like sleeping with my door closed. I always have my door cracked. But for some reason, that particular night, my door was closed. And this is exactly what happened. I think that whatever it was in my room, and it was like feeding off the energy that I was letting off, because I was always sad, I was always depressed, and I was always crying and stuff like that. So that was a crazy time. But I just got to say that I'm just glad that I was able to fight whatever it is and come to its level to not let it take over me. I'm scared to think of what could have happened if I didn't act upon what I did.
Let me tell you about the spookiest demonic encounter I ever had. So I used to be a worship leader at a church, and I used to be married to a worship leader at a church. It was our first year of marriage, and we had just moved into a very small apartment, and it was in kind of a rough part of town. And well, one evening, me and my husband were just kind of hanging out on the little patio area outside our front door. It was dark. It was probably about 9 o'clock in the evening. And as we're sitting there just kind of talking, I look over my shoulder because something catches my eye. And I see a man standing probably 15 feet from us, dressed in solid black. He had like a hoodie on, like had a hood over his face, and I couldn't make out any facial features, but he was just standing there, just looking at us. And I look at my husband and I go, babe, let's go. That guy's creeping me out. And my husband kind of looks over there and he goes, okay. And he kind of ushers me back inside. We go inside, shut the door, lock the door. And I was like, what was that guy doing? That was just super creepy. He was just standing there staring at us. And my husband looks at me and he said, look, I didn't want to say this while we were outside because I didn't want to scare you, but there was nobody there. I said, nobody there? He was right there, like 15 feet away. He was just standing on the sidewalk staring at us. How could you have not seen him? And he said, I swear to God, babe, I looked right where you were looking. There was nobody on the sidewalk. This story gets creepier. Not long after this, my husband wakes me up in the middle of the night. We're laying in bed together and he's like, babe, wake up. And so I kind of stir awake and I'm like, what? And he's like, are you the one sitting here tapping on the headboard? And I'm like, what? He's like, I've been laying here awake for like 30 minutes and I thought maybe you were just laying there like trying to prank me and scare me. I'm like, knocking on the headboard. He's like, yeah, it's just been going like just right behind my head. And I thought maybe it was your hand and you were trying to do it to scare me. And I said, no, I'm not knocking on the headboard. And he's like, okay, super weird. We go to sleep. He wakes up, I don't know how long it was, but he wakes up and he wakes me up again. He was like, oh my God, I just had the most demonic, terrifying dream. And I'm going to tell y'all about that dream and how it came true in part 2. Let me tell you about the spookiest demonic encounter I ever had. Part 2. So my husband wakes me up and he's clearly rattled. He had had a horrible nightmare and he was like, babe, wake up. I just had a horrible, like just demonic, creepy dream. And so of course I sit straight up and I'm like, what was your dream? Now this was a Saturday night, and again, he was a worship leader, I was a worship leader, we were serving in a church, and so we were, it was Saturday night and we were getting ready to go to church just the next morning. And he said we were in church, we were on stage, we were singing and leading worship, and he said I looked out past the congregation to the main doorway that leads into the sanctuary. And he said, I saw this horrible demon just standing in the doorway. He said that in the dream, the demon looked right at him and said, I'm going to be here all day. And he continued to tell me, like, in this dream, that demon, said that to him. And then, like, he looked around the church building and there were just dead bugs all over the floor, like, just piled up. And as he's telling me this, you can feel the energy in the apartment, like, just... It's heavy, it's dark, it's oppressive, and it genuinely scared us. So we got up, we started kind of praying throughout the house and just asking Jesus to remove what was in our house screwing with us. But here's where it gets crazy creepy. We finally get peace in our apartment, we feel that energy leave, and we manage to go back to bed. But the next morning, we wake up, we get ready, we go to church. pretty on edge, to be honest with you. Like, we both had a very genuine sense that that demon was real, that it had basically tried to taunt us in our dream and tell us that it was going to be in that church building waiting on us when we got there. So we walk in the church building, and literally as we're walking in, we hear staff members, like down the hallway, we hear them talking, and they're going, "What is with all the dead bugs? They are freaking everywhere." And me and my husband look at each other. Y'all, the floor of that church was covered in dead bugs. You couldn't take a step without walking on one. That was all the confirmation we needed that that dream was absolutely real, and that demon might as well have showed up himself and said, "Told you."
Weird spooky story time and your personal stories and experiences from the Monterey Bay Aquarium. So this person said they went and visited the Monterey Bay Aquarium with her ex and his family. She said they were looking through the exhibits like normal, and they decided to go have lunch, and they found the area where it overlooks the ocean, but they were on the inside part. But then there's these glass doors where you can go and look outside. If you're local, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not local, it's like in this region here. Of course, I have the creepy photo from my story. She said they were sitting at a corner table next to the big glass doors where people can come in and out. She said on the other side of the room across from her, sitting at another table, was an old lady with her family staring at her so angrily they were literally making eye contact with her. She felt like this woman was like reading her mind. She said the other people at the table weren't paying attention to her, weren't paying attention to the old woman. They were just sitting there eating lunch like as if she wasn't even there. She said it was so strange that it made her lose her appetite and she wasn't even hungry anymore. She said she felt sick, like she had the flu immediately, even though she felt totally fine the whole day before that. Okay, I have a theory about this one. That woman was not with that family. That family could not even see her. I think she was the woman in black. And she just happened to be sitting at that table, and for some reason, this person could see her. I don't know. That's what I think. What do you guys think about this one? I had another person message me and was like, "Hey, I saw your TikTok on the aquarium, and I used to work at the aquarium." And she said one time she felt a presence of someone, and she actually got touched. She said she and her coworker were taking out the trash, and apparently they both saw something, and they just like stopped in their tracks and like looked at each other like, "Did you just see that?" She said, long story short, she only worked there a couple more days and was like, "I'm out," and quit.
So for the people who are into scary stuff, paranormal activity, you know, Halloween, haunted houses, spooky stuff, supernatural stuff, I got a story time for you. So I was living with my mom in California, and if you're from California, matter of fact, no, if you're watching this video, you're from California too. So just watch the video. Alright, so around this time I was babysitting or whatever while my mom was at work or whatever. You know, like when your phone, you ain't been on your phone or whatever, you ain't been touching it, and your phone starts to dim or whatever. That's what mine was doing. But then next thing you know, it lights up or whatever, and it goes to my notes. Now y'all know when you're watching a scary movie, and it's always that one white girl, once she hear like a stomp or she see the light come on, she always want to be like, "Who's here?" Why did I do that, y'all? Just why did I do that? Y'all know black people don't do that. Like, y'all know. So once it's at my notes, it starts typing like random stuff, like random letters, numbers, everything or whatever. So after me saying, you know, the "who's here" thing, it types out Zachary. Y'all, so at this point, like, I kid you not, I'm spooked. I get my cousins, I'm like, "Let's go outside." Alright, so boom, we go outside or whatever. Wait for my mom to get home. So either the next day or maybe even a few days that passed by, my mom ended up coming to me and she was like, "I want to talk to you and I want to tell you something, but I don't want to scare you." Sorry, we gonna pause there. Now, y'all, I would literally see like my peripheral view, I would always see like a flash of light, but it wasn't just any flash of light. It was like an oval. Now, it might sound so weird that it was an oval, but literally it was like something died, like maybe like a small dog, maybe a baby or something small. Like, it was always really small, but it was like a flash of light. Not just that, I would always see this tall shadow man. Like, I don't know if I'm able to like edit and like put any type of clip in here, but if I could, I will. Anywho, so my mom, she begins to tell me, you know, that she's been seeing stuff. So I paused her and I let her know, like, "Are you seeing like the shadow person? Are you seeing the flash of light, you know, the shape of an oval?" She says yes. Alright, so next thing you know, a couple days go by. Maybe it could have even been the next day. However, my mom tells me, you know, she's about to go take a nap. So okay, she goes take a nap. Next thing you know, maybe like an hour or two goes by, She wakes up and all I hear is her yelling, Aaliyah! So I run up the stairs or whatever. I run up the stairs and she's like panicking, like she's really panicking. She's telling me how, you know, she woke up and, you know, her door was locked when she woke up. Remind you, when she went to sleep, the door was unlocked. Not just that, she goes inside the her bathroom mirror or whatever. When she goes inside the bathroom mirror, there's like this really like massive handprint. Like when I tell you, it was not like a human handprint at all whatsoever. It literally looked like a beast hand. Like the fingers were like as big and as thick as hot links. I kid you not. The nails were super long, and when I tell you, it was just like a big old handprint on her face. So at this point, we're comparing her hand to the handprint on her face, y'all. When I tell you, there was nothing similar, nothing, like there was literally no possible way. So not just that, we lived like literally walking distance from this church that we were going to. We let them know what was going on. They came over to our townhouse and, you know, they opened every window, they blessed the house. So, you know, we're thinking that we don't have to deal with this stuff anymore, right? So now, y'all, it gets deeper. Now where our townhouse was, there was like a walkway, you know, that'll lead you to the parking area. Now, in front of the parking area, we had this one weird, creepy neighbor, y'all. And we just gonna name her Susie. Now, y'all, Susie had about, like, maybe, like, 3 or 4 small dogs or whatever. And Susie always wore dark clothes, dark makeup, dark hair. Everything was so dark about her, down to her nails. Now, Susie used to walk around the apartments with her dog, but, like, you know when you walking your dogs or whatever, I don't even got dogs, but I've seen it happen. But you know when you walking your dogs or whatever, you walking, you making sure they pee, they poop, whatever. Now with Susie, when Susie was walking her dog, she was like power walking, like she looked really creepy, like y'all, like her eyes was like weird. Not just that, but when Susie would leave out of her house, y'all, and I'm not saying y'all gotta open your door all wide, but y'all, when I tell you, Susie would open her door to where it was cracked and like will slide her body out. It was just so weird. Like, now y'all, throughout the whole entire complex, there's walkways, like literally walkways everywhere, and both sides have grass or whatever. Y'all, she would literally cut in the back of people's like homes or whatever and like walk her dogs back that way, and it was almost as if she was like chanting something. All right, y'all, so then one day me and my mom, I don't know if we just came in the house or we were about to leave, but we kept hearing like a really loud like buzzing sound, like literally all you heard was and y'all, when I tell you, we could not figure out where the sound was coming from at all whatsoever. We're looking high and low throughout the whole townhome, trying to figure out where is the sound coming from. So I got to the point where we gave up. I go into the kitchen at this point. I'm looking for something to drink or something. Anywho, as I'm in the kitchen, this loud buzzing sound is getting even louder. Like, I kid you not, all you hear is bzzz, and it's loud. Like, it's really, really loud. I'm looking, trying to see if there's like, you know, a fly stuck inside of a blind. Is there like, you know, like, I don't know what it is. You would have thought there was like a June bug inside of our home somewhere. Like, it was just so loud. But like I said, now that I'm in the kitchen, it's so much louder. So I look inside of our bay window, inside of our kitchen or whatever. I'm looking inside the window, y'all, when I tell you, I kid you not, it was literally over 100 flies, like 100 flies, and I'm trying to see if there's anything dead, y'all. But I tell you, it was so disgusting. It was so crazy, and it's so crazy because it's like we usually have our kitchen curtain open, so it's like, how in the hell did all these flies get back there? You know, like, it didn't make sense. There was nothing dead. There was no food, nothing nasty in the garbage disposal, y'all. When I tell you, it made no sense. All right, so fast forward. We go down to the leasing office at this point because we need to talk to somebody about this. You know, we didn't got the house prayed over, and we're still going through crazy stuff. All right, so boom, we're in there. We're letting them know all the crazy stuff that's going on or whatever, everything that we're experiencing, and come to find out, we're not crazy. The people in the office were saying that they've been seeing spirits and hearing ghosts inside of their office. Not just that, when we left out of the office, one of the maintenance men came to my mom and let my mom know that while my mom was sitting down, there was a ghost sitting next to her. He explained to her that he's able to actually see spirits, and there was one sitting right next to her. Not just that, but we were told that the apartment/townhomes that we were living in was actually built over, I think it was like a cemetery or it was something, but however, a lot of people was killed there, and yeah, they were haunted. Then y'all, around that time, I was going to a charter school called Options for Youth. Now, if you know, then you know what it is. If you don't know, it's basically a charter school where it's like home studies, basically, in other words. Alright, so anywho, I was inside my room and I'm doing my homework. Now, just how I'm sitting, y'all, let me show y'all. My legs was up just like this, and I was doing homework on my lap. Now, I'm waiting for my mom to come home or whatever, and in my peripheral view, y'all, when I tell y'all, it was literally a person standing there. And I thought it was my mom, y'all. I get so teary-eyed even thinking about this part, so don't mind me. So, anywho, while I'm doing my homework, I'm trying to finish my last sentence before I look up. So, I think I probably, wrote the last word, put a period. I look up, y'all, when I tell y'all nobody was there, y'all. Nobody was there. And it was just somebody just standing there. I literally saw this person walk up and was just standing there. And in my head, I'm thinking it was my mom or so, because the person was brown. The person was around the same height as she was. But, y'all, when I tell y'all when I was done, no one was there. No one was there. That is so crazy. Literally, no one was there. I literally got up once I was done, went to go see where my mom went to go see, because, at this point, did somebody break in my mama's house? Or, what is it? Because there's no way that somebody was just standing there. Somebody literally walked up, stood right there, and once I was done, I looked up, that person was gone. Then, y'all, not just that, it's been times where I probably chilling on my phone or watching TV or whatever, and somebody would sit on my bed. Somebody would literally sit on my bed. Y'all know when somebody sit on your bed and you see the butt print, or when somebody get up, you'll see the butt print. Y'all, literally, it would be a whole indent inside of my bed. I would hear somebody sit on my bed and it'd be nobody there. I don't know. But what's so weird is the fact that literally the place that we were living, the name has been changed so many times. So many times. When we were living there, they were called the Waverleys. Now I think they're called the Avante, something, but it's just why y'all keep changing the name,
So why do kids have imaginary friends? Obviously, a lot of the time, it's all psychological. A little boy wants to have a superhero as a friend, or a little girl wants a princess as a friend. Kids have stuffed animals, and they treat their stuffed animals like they're actual living beings. But what's the other theory to why kids have imaginary friends? The child is speaking with an actual spirit. Children are said to be more open to the spiritual realm because they don't have the blocking of, I don't believe, and they're actually closer to the spirit realm because, they're little kids and have only been on this earth for a couple years. I find this subject really interesting because a lot of people I talk to who have had imaginary friends and they think it was a spirit that was in the house, for some reason just can't seem to remember what the spirit looked like, who the spirit was, what they sounded like. So I'm very curious. Did you have an imaginary friend that wasn't made up in your mind? And do you remember what they looked like, what you guys played, what they sounded like? Drop it in the comments. So why do kids have imaginary friends? Obviously, a lot of the time, it's all psychological. A little boy wants to have a superhero as a friend, or a little girl wants a princess as a friend. Kids have stuffed animals, and they treat their stuffed animals like they're actual living beings. But what's the other theory to why kids have imaginary friends? The child is speaking with an actual spirit. Children are said to be more open to the spiritual realm because they don't have the blocking of, I don't believe, and they're actually closer to the spirit realm because, they're little kids and have only been on this earth for a couple years. I find this subject really interesting because a lot of people I talk to who have had imaginary friends and they think it was a spirit that was in the house, for some reason just can't seem to remember what the spirit looked like, who the spirit was, what they sounded like. So I'm very curious. Did you have an imaginary friend that wasn't made up in your mind? And do you remember what they looked like, what you guys played, what they sounded like? Drop it in the comments.
Like I said, we're going to touch up some stuff on this book. So in this book is called Spell of Abundance, Love, Wealth, and Protection. So in this book, on the first page, actually, I have a glamour affirmation that you will basically say, you stand in front of the mirror and you stare at yourself and you admire yourself and you will say to yourself how beautiful you are. You'll basically seal this your beauty, like your glam, after you've done your makeup, or even stand in front of the mirror naked with nothing on, so you can really reaffirm yourself of your beauty, of your confidence and all that. This book is mainly for like self-confidence and self-elevation, you know, calling the goddess in you, calling the divinity in you, you know, calling the beauty in you. And also work with the moon, because the moon represents the woman, the mother, womb, water, all of this. So yeah, I have all the steps in here of all the spells that you need to do. It even has one for to get rid of unwanted guests. It's pretty funny. To get rid of unwanted guests. And this book right here, right? So I'm gonna run down real quick of all the materials that you're going to need. You will need a brand new broom. It has to be brand new. And you'll need a piece of parchment paper, a black pen, a black trash bag, because we're going to get rid of this sucker, right? And of course your intentions. And also I have spells on here that you can say. I have daily affirmations. And also I have spells on here that you can do every single day to work with the energy of the planets of the day, and also the archangels that work with the day. So anyways, there's so many spells. There's a 7-day manifestation spell with archangels. And let's see. A 30-day money spell with bay leaves and the Fihu sign, which is a money sign. It's like an F with that extra part. Anyways, the symbol's there, and I even show you like what you need to do, what the sigil look like, all that. And the keys to enhance your spell. So there are different things on here on how to enhance your spell and basically grow your finance, grow your love, self-love, self-admiration, chance to say to yourself to give you that extra energy to go about your day. And also it's tips to enhance your spell. Oh, I already said this. And morning coffee abundance prosperity spell. You guys remember I just shared a video about morning coffee and how important it is when it comes to hoodoo, and how you can basically use your first cup of coffee in the morning to manifest a better life or a better day, or to bring forth money to you. So don't let, you know, you're already doing these things anyway, so you might as well just incorporate something a little bit extra to basically boost your thing. And here's to influence your boss spell. So this one, I'm sure people who are actually working are going to love this. It's to influence your boss and attract favors towards you at work. Because look, in this economy, we're all working and we need some boost at work, and we also sometimes need to be tied to our job, so therefore you don't get fired. You know what I mean? So there's some stuff that you could do to basically tie yourself to your job, and or tie the job to you. And once you're done and you're all tired of that job, you can get rid of it. It's not something that's completely permanent, but use magic, guys. It's here for you to use. You have the herbs in your closet, you have the herbs in your pantry, you have the candles that you could just simply buy some candles super cheap. Use magic to elevate your life. Use magic to make yourself better. Let me tell you, Jesus was out here using magic, okay? Walking on water and stuff and turning water into wine. Sounds like magic to me. But anyways, guys, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.